Hey everybody, my name's Jacob Kramer and I'm the author of this book, Okapi Tale, and I'm here with,
My name is K-Fai Steele. I made all of the drawings in Okapi Tale, and I made the book with Jacob.
yeah, we're really excited to be here with you today remotely, and we are going to read you this book, Okapi Tale, but we're going to do it not this physical copy, which you can get at a bookstore or at your library, or you can order it online. Um, these books are really beautiful. They're from Enchanted Lion Books, but we're going to be reading a digital copy to you of Okapi Tale. Shall we begin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Here we are, the cover, Okapi Tale. And take a look at these objects. These will become important later. Okapi Tale. Not so long ago, Noodlefin and her friends invented a machine that would turn anything into noodles. Using the fantastic noodler, they turned pillows into ravioli and shoelaces into spaghetti. It was such a wonderful machine, they gave it to the town for all to use. Animals from far and wide flocked to Beeston to crank stuff through the machine. Noodlefin's friends welcomed the newcomers and invited them to picnic together. But not everyone in Beeston was happy. The kangaroos missed the days when the town was called Rooville, and they were the only ones in charge. They grumbled and whined about their new neighbors. They even complained to the mayor.
Noodlefin was so inspired by all the visitors that she now wanted to travel the world. She took a job as a cook on a ship sailing to Japan and China, which are places famous for their noodles. As Noodlefin was boarding, an okapi disembarked. "Enjoy Beeston," called Noodlefin, but the okapi just sniffed his snooty snout. Look how much luggage the okapi has. "Don't mind that Okapitalist," said the captain. "He's very rude, and he only cares about money."
As soon as the okapi saw the fantastic noodler, he wanted to buy it. "Who owns this machine?" asked the okapi. "Nobody," said the fly. "It's public. That means it belongs to everyone." "Someone must own it," declared the okapi. "Everything belongs to someone." The mice, who had lovely voices, burst into song. "We built this machine together. It's for everybody to use. Whether you're scaly or hairy or feathered, there's noodles for me's and for you's. When everyone owns it, nobody does. We can share all the things we produce. Whether you're covered in spines or in fuzz, there's noodles for me's and for you's." The okapi snorted and went to see the mayor.
"I'd like to buy your old machine," said the okapi. "It's dented and it clutters up the park. Besides, it's attracting all kinds of vermin." The mayor nodded. "These newcomers are ruining Rouville." "Sell it to me," said the okapi. "I'll help you restore the good old days." The okapi wrote the mayor a big check and they sealed the deal. And if you look inside the window, you can see the seal sealing the deal.
She doesn't look very happy
No,
about it.
she looks like.
And she would probably rather be out there with the other animals making noodles. The next morning, when the animals of Beeston went to make noodles, all they found was a sign. And the sign says, "Now hiring, Okapi pasta." So they don't seem very happy either. And oh, there's the seal. She brought corkscrews to crank into cavatappi, but no machine.
Meanwhile, Noodlefin was enjoying Japan, a place famous for udon, soba, and ramen. One day, Noodlefin found herself in the middle of a parade of dancers wearing tall wooden clogs called geta. They looked like so much fun. Noodlefin bought an extra large pair for herself and matching sets for her friends. But back home, unbeknownst to Noodlefin,
things were getting much, much worse. The Okapi's factory had turned all the beach shells into conchiglie and the leaves into foliae. One day, the butterflies vanished from the butterfly garden, and the next night, boxes of farfalle were being loaded onto trucks. I don't know, things looking bad.
with all the money he was making, the Okapi bought up the town. He bought the grocery store, he bought the bistro and the farmer's market. And each time he raised the prices to get more money. The goat does not look like they can afford those few apples and like that bottle of whatever, like Mountain Dew or something like that. The only way Noodlefin's friends could get enough money to buy food was to work in the Okapi's factory. And we see the factory on the right. It does not look
Yeah,
good. It looks like not a nice place to live anymore. What else do
it
you
does look.
see on the far right, Jacob?
Oh, well, so I see a statue here, which is kind of strange. It shows a kangaroo riding on top of another animal, a horse. So it seems like maybe in the past things were pretty bad too.
The fish looks a little freaked out.
Yeah. Day by day, the Okapi ordered them to work faster and faster, cranking out more and more pasta. The workers protested outside City Hall, but the mayor just shrugged. Job creators like the Okapi are beautifying Rouville and making it safer. Look at these statues and the shiny new cages in the zoo. Noodlefin's friends chanted, "Cages cannot make us safer, statues cannot feed our town, the battle days won't be our future, we demand that you step down." "How dare you speak to a kangaroo like that?" snapped the mayor. He went inside to meet with the Okapi.
I love how mad all the animals look. I think I did a really great job on this page. I really channeled some rage. Everyone's so mad.
Yeah, they say no more empty bowls.
Meanwhile, Noodlefin was having a great time in China. She learned to stretch biang biang, which is a kind of noodle, and eat them with spicy chili sauce. That sounds so good to me. And you can see she and that cat, it looks like she's learning how to stretch hand-drawn noodles along with the cat. You can look up videos about that. It's actually beautiful. She loves slurping floppy sheets of pu gai mian, another kind of noodle. But one day, Noodlefin saw a strange new brand of pasta at the market. Holding the box, her trunk tingled with fear. Deep down, she knew that something had gone very, very wrong. And the box says, Okapi's
And this,
farfalle. Yeah, right? They're delicious. Made in Rouville? Rouville, interesting.
Rouville. So Rouville is the old name of the town where Noodlefin comes from, which is supposed to be called Beeston. Noodlefin rushed to the docks, where her shipmates were loading crates of juicy peaches. "My friends need me at home in Beeston," she told the captain. "Can you help?" "Of course. We sail tonight."
Who's the captain, Jacob, of the boat? Can you see?
Oh, you can see him at the top of the gangplank right here. He's a rat. He's a very confident rat. At sea, Noodlefin cooked and sang with her shipmates. "The more I see, the more I think about how we can change our ways to share in common all the things that help us live throughout our days. Food and water, medicines, hot tubs, energy and trains, housing in the wilderness, factories for making things. Orchards, farms, and neighborhoods are not for the wealthy few. They should be held as public goods. They all belong to me and you.
And that includes the whales, right?
Yeah, seems like the whales are listening to her song and digging it. And whales are actually one of the few animals that also sing like us and birds. They have their own songs.
A few weeks later, Noodlefin arrived home. Her friends rushed to meet her at the dock. They hugged, they ate peaches, and they opened up their presents. Everyone clip-clopped on their new geta. They stayed up late into the night making plans.
This looks like a nice homecoming reunion. The next morning at the factory, everyone was a little bit taller and a little bit wobbly. Why do you think they're wobbly? They're wearing those cool new geta.
When the work whistle blew, they began to work, but slowly. After an hour, they had only turned one bell into a single campanello. "Where's my pasta?" demanded the Okapi. "We need to ship 3,000 boxes by midnight." The workers began to move, even slower. "Move, you lazy sloths! Work, work faster!" shouted the Okapi. And slowly Noodlefin raised her trunk.
The signal! In a flash, the workers jammed their geta into the fantastic noodler. The machine shook, sputtered, and oozed thick, stinking goo. It was completely clogged. And then the Okapi cries, "Sabotage! Sabotage most vile!"
The workers declared, "With all due respect, Mr. Okapi, we've had quite enough of your greed. You're selfish and mean, controlling and bossy. You've taken much more than you need. We are entitled to all we've created, including this noodle machine. We're taking it back. We will not be cheated. We're no longer part of your scheme." "I bought it fair and square," cried the Okapi. "The mayor had no right to sell it," said the fly. "It belongs to all of us." "But I own it," whined the Okapi. "Let's settle this," said Noodlefin, "with a vote."
Soon all of Beeston was gathered to vote on the question, which is written here on this ballot. It says, "To whom does the fantastic noodler belong? All of us or the Okapi?" So how would you vote? Is a good question when you're presented with a choice like this.
I know which
We
box
know
I'm
how
going to
Beeston
tick.
voted though. Yeah, but you probably agree with most of the animals of Beeston. When the votes were counted, the majority agreed. The machine was a public good and could not be privately owned. And you can see here what's going on in the scene.
It looks like there's one
We've
box
got,
that's really getting all the votes.
yeah, it's overwhelmingly in favor of public ownership for Beeston and not the Okapi.
How do some of these characters look over here? What would you say some of the expressions are?
I would say they look pleased. I think they look satisfied with the result,
How does the
except for maybe
yeah, the Okapi doesn't look that happy. What about I've been seeing this other character going around with the Okapi, the little one,
the
that
opossum.
that opossum. How does the opossum look? Can you circle that, Jacob? What would you say their expression
This
is?
guy, this fellow, I think they're kind of having an internal reckoning. I think they're a little bit, concerned about what's happening. It's kind of a shock. I think that they're used to the Okapi being in charge, and this is kind of a difficult moment for them to see
And how about the
that
mayor?
he
What do you think
hasn't
the
gotten his
mayor's
way.
got going on?
I don't, yeah, he doesn't seem to be particularly happy with the results. Not the way that, say, the rhino seems pleased. And
The
Noodlefin,
seal
of
looks
course, seems quite
happy.
pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next day, the workers brought crates of juicy peaches to City Hall impeached the mayor and sent him packing. So some of you may
What are
have
they
heard of them.
carrying? It looks like they have some of like they all came together to carry something back to City Hall. What does it look like they're carrying back?
It looks like they've managed to repair the noodler, and they're bringing it back to where it was in the beginning of the story, which is for everybody, right, in public. And they've also brought those boxes of peaches from, I believe, from China, and they're impeaching the mayor.
And who else do you see kind of in the shadow of City Hall?
Oh, yeah, right here. The okapi and the opossum, and it looks like a kangaroo officer.
The mayor's really been hung out to dry.
Yeah. Well, so, impeachment is the process of removing a leader who is no longer legitimate. So that's what they're doing with these peaches. But soon Beeston elected a new mayor, someone who would do a fly-tastic job. For the inauguration, Noodlefin cranked blankets through the noodler, making loads of floppy pugai mian. And pugai mian in Chinese actually means bedspread noodle because it's so big and floppy like a bedspread. So Noodlefin cranks the blankets through and she gets pugai mian.
Have you
And
had
the
pugamian,
mice, of
Jacob?
course, I've I've never I would love to have pugai mian. I've seen pictures of it and it looks delicious. Have
I
you
live
had
in
pugai
San
mian?
Francisco. Yeah, I got it like a month ago. It's amazing. It's really, really yummy.
So the mice led the chorus. They sang, "We are making decisions together for the many, not just the few. Whether you're scaly or hairy or feathered, democracies for me's and you's. When nobody owns things, everyone does. We can share everything that we use. Whether you're covered in spines or in fuzz, democracies for me's and you's." And oh, do you want to see what happens
No,
next?
you can just close this out.
All right. So as for the Okapi Tale, we can't forget about him. He had trouble making money in Beeston. Nobody would shop at his stores or even talk to him. So he picked up and left town. Who knows? Maybe he's headed your way.
And who else do we see on the water
The
here?
end. That opossum.
No, we
It's
also
a
see
very.
the two whales.
Oh, the whales. Yes, the whales. I hope this Okapi doesn't have any plans for the ocean. He seems to be polluting. Seems to not have very much respect for those whales. But I don't know. I feel like this opossum maybe needs a new job. I don't know.
Oh, he's not. He's certainly. Yeah, I don't know if he's getting anywhere fast with that single oar.
Yeah. So that's the end. And now we have these beautiful end papers that K-Fai drew. And actually, I spot a bowl of pugai mian right here.
It is,
And you
yeah.
can see that big floppy noodle. And if you recall at the beginning, there were all these different things like radiators and blankets and shells, and they've been turned into this beautiful pasta.
So, what do you think happened?
That's the end. What do I think happened?
To the like, what happened? Like, how did they get transformed?
Oh, well, there, I mean, obviously, I believe the fantastic, I believe the fantastic noodler was involved.
They've
There's
gotten the
no real
fantastic
other
noodler
way.
treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't personally have a way of turning a blanket into a bowl of pugai mian, but I think Noodlefin knows how. And here we have the back
Cool.
of the book, and that's the end. Um, yeah. So thank you so much for listening to Okapi Tale. I'm going to show the real book, this solid object that you can get at the library, or you can get it at a bookstore. You can buy it online. Um, and it's a really cool book, and I think you'll enjoy it. In K-Fi, I see uh, some things behind you. You're not just in a regular room. You're in a room that looks like it's full of interesting things.
Yeah, so like everyone else, so we're recording this in late August. And like everyone else in the country, I've just been in my house for the past, maybe everyone else in the world, I've been in my house for the past 8 months, which means that I do all of my drawing and all of my writing at home, like probably all of you who write and draw. And let me see if I can actually move this back a little and you can see a little bit more. I have like kind of like a little home studio set up. So I have like a desk that I write at. I have something that I keep all like a bunch of papers in. I have some books up there. It's not very earthquake proof. I'm in San Francisco. And then I have this thing that I use, which is, oops, that's my like couch over there. That's my house over here. I live in like basically 2 rooms. This is a drafting table that I use as a desk to write and draw. So I have a dedicated desk to draw on. And let's see. So I have some art for Okapi Tale. Do you want me to show you what it looks like a little more closely? I'm guessing you do. Yeah, you're like nodding, Jacob. Okay, so the art, when I'm making art for a book, I do it all using watercolor paper, watercolors, pencils, and pens, and ink. And so if you look at when you get the actual book or when you're reading a book, sometimes you'll see like 2 pages, right? It's like you turn a page and it looks like this, but when I'm making the art, it's all just on 1 page. And then it gets scanned and printed at a printer and then sewn up into a book. But this is what it looks like when I'm working on it. And you'll notice it's also like a little bit bigger than the actual book. So I work a little larger than the book itself. But the entire book is just on pieces of paper like this. And what I think is so exciting about that is it shows you that you can kind of do this on your own as long as you have paper and something you like to draw with. I happen to like drawing with watercolors. I'm going to show you a couple of other spreads that I really like. I'll show the Japan scene next. So another thing that illustrators do when they're working on a scene is they do a lot of research. So this is the scene I made where Noodlefin is in Japan. And Jacob and I had talked about this idea of using Geta as the device, right, to kind of like clog the machine at the end, which you just all learned, right? But I was like, okay, is there like some sort of festival that Noodlefin goes to in Japan that has something to do with Geta or something to do with clogs? And so I talked to a friend of mine who's Japanese, she's from Tokyo, and she mentioned this dancing festival that happens every year, I think around August or September, and it's called Awa Odori, or I'm not sure if it's Awa Odori. I think it's Awa Odori. Someone can correct us on that. But it's a dancing festival. And I was able to find all of these amazing YouTube videos about it. And I looked up, this is before the pandemic happened, so I could still go to the library. I found a couple of books that had lots of photos from it. And so I used books from the library, YouTube videos, to make sure I knew all of the different instruments that the people in the festival would play, the traditional Japanese instruments, the outfits that they would wear, including these straw hats, and the geta that they would dance on, and even the way that they walk using geta. So it's not just like platforms, it's at a tilt. So I made sure to draw all of the animals who are wearing the geta. Like, I just wanted it to be as accurate as possible, even though this is like animal world. I wanted to make sure I had that, and I wanted to have other elements. I haven't been to Japan. My husband has been to Japan, and one thing that he really loved were all of the vending machines there. You can get like anything in a vending machine, and all of the drinks are like fantastic. And it gets really hot there in the summer, especially in Tokyo. So I wanted to make sure I had vending machines there. There's a ramen shop over here, and there's the Geta store where Noodlefin is buying the XXL clogs for herself. I'll show one more just because it's kind of fun to look at these. And I like showing off the art because no one ever gets to see this stuff. This is another scene that I drew when Noodlefin comes back from China and Japan. And I think because I live in San Francisco, I'm very close to the ocean. And San Francisco is a big port city, and there are always a lot of shipping containers that come through, and they actually come in underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and then over to Oakland where they disembark. So it's like a lot of cruise ships and a lot of cargo ships. So I actually spent a lot of time before the pandemic happened going to the ocean, looking at like the sunset and sketching these boats, sketching the ocean and what it looked like, and also looking at whales occasionally. So that was a really fun thing to do.
Thanks for showing us that.
Yeah, I can also show, like, I just will like want to point to this. So the way that I paint is that I use a palette. This isn't actually the palette. Sorry, I'm like plugged in over here. This is the palette that I used for Noodlefin. So I just have all these watercolor tubes and I squeeze in watercolors to all of this. So this is the color of Noodlefin. I pre-mixed that beforehand. This is the color of the Okapi. He's made up of 4 different colors. And then I just squeezed a lot of colors that I like using onto this palette. And that way I don't have to guess every time I go to paint a character. I have it labeled like, I paint Noodlefin with these colors. I paint the Okapi with these 4 colors, and I just know how to do it. So this way it's almost like this is all the color I use for a book, and I save this so that if I ever have to go back and make drawings again, I have like kind of like, this is exactly what I used to make this book.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Of course.
And yeah, what's that? Yeah.
I said, of course, yeah.
Oh, so whenever we share our work with students or audiences, we like to remind people that this is something that you can do and that you should do because it's really fun and it's something that you can do with friends, which is make stories. So what I like to do is I like to come up with something that I've been thinking about a lot, something I think maybe is funny or something that isn't fair or a combination of things that maybe other people don't think go together, but I think they go well together. And then I turn that into a story. I see where it takes me when I use those ideas. And then all you need to write a story is really a pencil and paper, a little bit of time. And then, as you can see with K-Fai's work, to make beautiful illustrations, what you really need is, pen, paper, watercolors, and maybe a friend. So that's what we'd like you to do. And uh, one way to think of it, a interesting idea, would be what happens next after the end of Okapi Tale. Uh, there's some open ends that you could come up with a interesting story. So
Yeah, like what happens with the fly, right? Now that the
yeah,
fly is mayor, what happens to the Okapi? What happens to Noodlefin?
what happens with the whales?
Exactly. That's a great part. Yeah, that would be really fun to play with.
Yeah.
Thanks for reading this story with me.
Yeah, thanks for reading it along and also for showing us your studio. That was really fun.
Okay.
Should we
Cool. Talk
sign
to you
off?
later. Yeah, let's do it.